Hello, and welcome to Dartmouth-Hitchcock's third in our six-part webinar series, Heads Up, Coping Through COVID-19. I'm Audra Burns, Media Relations Manager at Dartmouth-Hitchcock, and I will be your moderator for this afternoon's discussion. I want to remind viewers that questions can be submitted to our email address, social@hitchcock.org, or you can comment in the thread below. If we do not get to your questions in the 15 minutes allotted for this program, our experts will be answering them on an FAQ page on our website. I'm joined this afternoon by John Broderick, former Chief Justice of the New Hampshire Supreme Court and Dartmouth-Hitchcock Senior Director of External Affairs, along with Emily Galeva, high school senior in Lebanon, New Hampshire, and Aron Silvestre, a junior from Goffstown, New Hampshire. Thank you, John, Emily, and Aron, for being with me today.
Great to be here, Audra.
Thank you for having us.
So John, you have visited 200 high schools across New England to talk to students about mental health awareness. What have you heard from teenagers about their challenges of dealing with stress, anxiety, and depression even before this new reality they're living in?
Well, I've been now and spoken, Audra, to about 85,000 students in New Hampshire and northern New England. I've been to seventh grade classes. I've been to auditoriums filled with high school students. And I have great admiration for this generation. I genuinely do. I love these kids. They're smarter than I was. They're a whole lot more informed than I ever was. And they are far less judgmental than any generation ever in the United States. But their lives are much faster than mine was. They're more interconnected, they're more scheduled, they're more structured in a lot of ways. And I think this generation is more competitive in a way than mine was. And so all of those things are admirable, but I have talked and hiked, quite frankly, so many young people in those gyms and auditoriums who are suffering from anxiety and depression. And they're very forthcoming about it. I admire that too. But 1 in 5 adolescents today have a mental health problem. It's usually anxiety or depression or both. And so I worry about them at times. And in the middle of a pandemic where all of us are feeling a little isolated and alone, I think those who might have a mental health problem need to be more attentive to it and more focused on it and to be able to talk about it more. That's what I worry about.
And we're very fortunate to have 2 high school students who are willing to talk about it and help us through this and offer their insights from their perspective. So let's start with Emily. What has been the hardest adjustments that you have had to make during this pandemic, and what suggestions might you have for other students?
So there's been around 3 things that have been hardest for me. The first one is staying positive during this time, and motivated has been a little bit difficult for me. So I've had to actively, what I think helps with this is I've had to actively change my brain into thinking positively and more opportunistically. And they say it takes 21 to 61 days to start a habit. So starting these new good habits during this new routine that I've had to adjust to has been kind of difficult. Another thing that's been hard for me is just getting used to being alone. I'm not used to all this alone time. I'm not used to being around my parents this much. And honestly, it's kind of hard to find things to do because I'm just used to going to school and that's my regular routine. So something that has helped with this is, part of my positive thinking was looking at this as an opportunity. So I'm probably never going to get the chance to be this young and get this amount of alone time again. So I'm kind of trying to think of this as like an opportunity and take advantage of it. So I won't be, thinking negatively about it. So I've been just trying to make the best out of it. And things that help with this and like things that have been filling up my free time, I guess, that other people could also do is going outside, going on a hike, on a walk, meditating, working out. You can even make music in your room, start singing, listen to new music. And my favorite thing personally has been listening to podcasts. There's all kind of podcasts out there. And you can even listen to ones about like mental health and stuff. And another thing that I think that could be really helpful to anyone is just getting yourself something to take care of, like a plant or maybe like a frog or some tadpoles. It gives you something to do and it just makes you feel better in general.
Yeah.
And then, go ahead, Aron.
Thank you. I think right now the hardest part for me is feeling choked up inside of my house. I walk through these doors every day of my life, but now it feels different. I feel like I'm just wandering the same rooms constantly. The halls are filled with me in and out. So just like going through the same house, I feel like I haven't accomplished much, but I've also accomplished my own expectations of my new goals right now. So I think the hardest part for me was creating my new schedule. Before, everything was planned out for me in my day, waking up, going to school, after the school program, homework, social time, and then bed and repeat. And that was a life that I think a lot of us were used to. But right now, the hardest adjustment has to be creating this new schedule, this new life that we all have to endure.
I think it's important, Audra, what Emily and Aron just said. It's true for all of us, by the way. We're all looking for a new routine, a new way to get through the day. A lot of our lives are governed by that. And then we hit the repeat button, as Aron said. But I think sometimes if you have the attitude that I really commend that Emily talked about, which is look upon it as an opportunity, because you won't ever have this kind of time again. I can guarantee you that. And so try to find something interesting to do, something you might have wanted to do, but you haven't really had the schedule to allow it. And sometimes it's really beneficial, I think, to think about other people and what they might be enduring and to find a way to help them. And your generation, which is so connected on the internet, can do some important things that way. And this won't last forever. It seems that way right now, but it won't. And so take the opportunity you have, as odd as that may sound, to do something different and important and maybe for someone else.
Mm-hmm. That's great advice. And like Aron said, readjusting your schedule is important too with the expectations. And then Emily, I'll have to take your advice as a parent, because my 7th grader keeps coming in and bringing tadpoles from the pond and salamanders. And I keep saying, get outside, but maybe that's his way of wanting to take care of something. So maybe I'll loosen up. So thank you.
Of course.
So Aron, what insights can you share in regards to what students are experiencing day to day that they might not be sharing with their parents?
Oh wow. I think it has to be the amount of internet access that we just have at the palm of our hands right now. We're all learning through school on remote learning, and it's very great that we're continuing to learn through this whole process. But the amount of time that we are on our technology, it's astounding. I think our friends right now, we're spending 6+ hours a day on just the internet and on technology. So we have remote learning, social media, talking to friends. So our whole day is on the internet. And I don't think we're going outside as much. And another thing to note is that teens have really lost our coping mechanisms. We're used to being in school. We're used to going to sports. And usually seeing our friends is our coping mechanisms. We talk to them. We say, hey, can I talk to you like in person? But we really have lost what we used to have our daily expectations on. So I think the hardest part through all this is readjusting ourselves to what we need to do to make ourselves feel nice and full at the end of the day.
I definitely agree with what Aron is saying about social media. It's so much easier now since we have so much more free time to go on social media, go look at people's like Instagram. And a lot of time there is, like famous people that we see all over social media that don't have realistic expectations, but we don't see that because we don't see what happens behind the scenes. So this can honestly just end up kind of ruining our self-confidence, especially if we're like looking at it like a lot more. So I think that parents should be kind of just like aware of the pressures that we have on social media right now and make sure to be like just maybe a little bit like extra supportive, or if we're wearing a cute outfit, like maybe just like mention it and like make us feel good, like just be nice in general. And the main thing that I would say is we are not used to being around our parents this month. Like it's an adjustment, and for some people they're really liking it, but for others, depending on the family situation, I think it's important for friends just to reach out and check on each other. But also I think it's really important for parents to respect our privacy. So obviously we can't be cooped up in our room all day not talking to anyone, but if your kid asks for privacy, I think that you should really respect it. And, it can be a little bit suffocating. We're just not used to being around you 24/7. But at the same time, this is the perfect opportunity to get to like know your kids better as a person, because you get to see them more. And also just helping us kids get to know you as a person, because we don't really have the opportunity to get to know our parents as people all the time. And we don't know what they're doing all day. So it's just like very interesting to see our parents like doing their own things and like maybe start having family dinners and just little things like that. and just setting a good example for us, because honestly, like no matter what any kid says, they do look up to adults. I mean, even if it's subconsciously, we're watching what you're doing and we're trying to follow what you're doing. So like with this whole corona thing, just setting a good example, like if you're going outside, like put a mask on, because it is serious, and like we need to know that it's serious, so that maybe in a week we don't just go, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with this kid who lives with his grandma, like just in case. It's just better to, like, I guess, set that example. So just know we're watching you.
I think that's very important. I would say, though, this is kind of daring, I think, to say to young people, I admire that you're so internet savvy, I do. But you can spend too much time there, too. Now, maybe not so much. These are challenging times. But having the opportunity to spend time with your parents, they haven't had the time to spend with you either. But so it's pretty unique for all of you. But you might learn something about you folks, and they might learn something about you if you opened up sometimes, when otherwise you might be in your room on the internet. I also think it's important to get out of the house. I know we're restricted and we need to be, but exercise is pretty important for general health in a pandemic or not. So the internet is great, but it shouldn't be a place where you live all day long, because that can be hard too. That can be very hard for kids.
Yep. And like Aron said, with scheduling things, that's a great opportunity to just, schedule in some time to get outside. And what Aron said as well about coping, having coping mechanisms. Let's be aware as parents that our children might need help with new coping mechanisms. And Emily, I promise I will not smother my kids as much, because I know, and parents, let's take advice, because, we're trying to spend time with them, but let's give them that space that they're asking for. So great advice.
And I forgot to mention this, but now thinking about it, I'm thinking it's really important for parents. Just please let us know that there are still options for us to get help, even though we can't like physically interact with a lot of people or go places, because like a lot of people have mental health issues, and like during this time it can get a lot harder just because of more like isolation and stuff. So please, just parents, make it known that there's still online therapies and that you're willing to sign up your kids for it, because sometimes it can be a little awkward for kids to reach out and be like, listen, I need help. I need to talk to someone. Because like Aron said, we're used to talking to our friends. So that's like a form of therapy for us. And now some people don't have that. They're deprived of it. So we need another source to go to. And some people just aren't comfortable talking to their parents. So like therapy, even if you don't think your kid is struggling, I promise there's things they're not telling you. So please let it known that there is still online therapy, and you're willing to sign them up if they need that.
That's great advice. And we will have links for resources just particularly for that as well on our website, which I will share at the end of this. So thank you for that. So we do have a viewer question that came in from our email at social@hitchcock.org. This one's for John. What advice do you have for students who are experiencing emotional challenges before the pandemic began and now are trying to adjust to this new normal?
Well, first thing I'd say to them is don't be too hard on yourself. This is a hard time for everyone. But if you were having problems before, this might well make it worse. And my first thought would be share it with your friends online, people you trust, people you've talked to. Maybe share it with your parents or a sibling. Talk to someone. You're also able to reach out to the school and the counselors, who I'm sure would be happy to continue discussions with you. The only mistake you can make if you're feeling different than you'd like is to keep it to yourself. So you need to reach out and talk to someone. And as Emily said, there may be sites online where you can also get some assistance, and you guys are pretty savvy, so you should be able to do that. But I guess be patient with yourself. Everyone's having a tough time, but if it's especially tough, reach out.
Reach out for her, absolutely. So we have another question that came in. This one's for Emily. So as a senior, high school students are missing out on so many milestones like prom, spring sports, graduation, planning for college, joining the workforce. How can parents and community members best support you through all of this?
Yeah, honestly, it is a bummer that we're missing out on like all these things that everyone else gets to have. But I think this is mainly focused actually towards schools and students. I think that schools and students are the ones who can make the changes. So my school has been personally doing a really nice job at like taking care of this issue by asking students like, what do you think we should do? Like, what are your ideas? And they've been kind of trying to like mush the ideas together, but they've been doing a great job in letting us know like, your prom is not over, your graduation is not over. Like, we are actively working hard to like try to figure something out for you guys. So just know like it's not the end all. And like we're going to get proms, or it depends on the school, but like parents should definitely be like maybe you can have an at-home prom, honestly. Like, be like, listen, your friends can come over to our house maybe, like, or we can like go somewhere and like have like a at-home prom. Like if they have like a boyfriend maybe or something, and they call up the parents, and like for graduation, it's more of like the school's job. But I think that schools can definitely like readjust or like postpone things. So seniors like should just know, like, don't worry, you're not going to miss out like on all the fun things. But also like you have to, I guess, put it in perspective. Like our graduation and our high school prom, it's not everything. Like, yes, it is something that like a lot of people go through, but at the same time, like it's really not that important. Like it's not something that is going to majorly affect our life, most likely.
I love your positive attitude, and now's the time for new memories and different memories that we can be doing. So we're just about over time, so I do want to wrap up, and I'd like to start with Aron. If you could all share something an important point that you want parents as well as high schoolers to have a takeaway from this.
My takeaway for people must be, are you really reaching out? In this current moment, are you texting? Are you calling? Are you mailing? What are you doing to talk to your old friend, to your old colleague, to someone that you may not have talked to before? And are you just reaching out for yourself? Are you really saying the truth about how you are okay or not? So that must be my takeaway.
So I have 3 takeaways from this. The first one is, look at this as an opportunity. There's nothing you can do about it, so you might as well look at it in the best way that you can. So you can look at this as an opportunity to work on yourself because you're spending so much alone time. So just think about your mental health issues. Think about like, why do I do the things that I do? You know, kind of have like a self-therapy session, I guess. It can be really helpful. The second one is get in control of your time. If you start scheduling and you get more in control of your time, you feel more in control of life in general. You know how your day is going to go. So it starts kind of like a new routine for you, like subconsciously. And also it just takes away a lot of stress from the day if you know what you have to do. And then the final thing is, John mentioned it, be grateful just in general. Like you can take this any way you want, but be grateful and do things for others. Doing things for others makes you happy. It like produces endorphins and you just feel happy. So doing things for others, it's a great way to like, I guess, stay connected with people at this time. And just, it also gives you something to do because you can make a friendship bracelet or a scarf for one of your friends or write them a letter, just anything simple, honestly.
One thing I wanted to suggest, by the way, Aron and Emily were terrific. One thing I'd like to suggest is you might consider, since we're living through history, as unpleasant as it is, to keep a journal of what you're experiencing, what you're seeing, how you adjusted. Because someday you may well have children and they'll say, hey, Mom, or hey, Dad, what was that like? You were in school back then. And you'll have a memory of it, but it won't be as ready as it is now. So you might want to write a journal. And lastly, I would say, just be patient with yourself and with this. It's hard, I know. This will pass at some point. We're not there yet. It may not be there for a while, but it will come. And so just understand this won't be forever. That makes it easier, I think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Incredible advice from all of you. I thank you so much for your time and your thoughts and insights. And Emily, I wish you all the best with what your next future chapter holds. And Aron, good luck with your senior year next year, no matter what that might look like. And John, I look forward to you getting back out there as a road warrior for mental health awareness. So thank you all for being with me today.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you for having us.
So next week, I will be joined by Dr. Stephen Cole, manager of Dartmouth-Hitchcock's Employee Assistance Program, as well as Dr. Eve Zakowski, clinical psychologist. They will be discussing challenges that frontline workers, such as healthcare professionals and first responders, may be facing at this time. For the full Heads Up Coping Through COVID-19 series, as well as a schedule, additional information, and resources, please visit go.d-h.org/headsup. Like John said, this won't last forever. So let's stay healthy, stay home, and stay safe. See you next week.
Thank you.